How often does it occur that a founder starts out with humble beginnings? They're chasing their purpose, and they look up one day and they've succeeded, and they start reflecting back on that journey, and they go, "Man, I've got some regrets. There's parts of this story I'm not really proud of," because success can be very alluring, and we can chase and chase and chase, and I've seen this where sometimes leaders can lose who they are in the pursuit of the thing that they're chasing. They're trying to fill a hole in their own heart, and they kind of lose perspective about the impact they're making, or who they're serving, or just even being okay without the business. Like, who would I be without this thing? And their identity gets, it's wrapped up into it.
And that happens oftentimes when founders sell their businesses, especially when their name is attached to it.
Say more about that.
Well, I mean, Kate Spade is a wonderful example of it. I had her on the show. It was the last major interview she'd given before her death. And what a wonderful person she was, having her on the show and telling me her story and how she started making handbags out of potato sacks, canvas sacks. She had no money. She had no connections. I mean, she was an editor at Cosmopolitan magazine, but she had no experience making in the fashion world. And she built this incredible brand, and she eventually sold it fairly early in the late 90s. But imagine, Kate Spade, for the rest of her life, she couldn't use her name. She would go around the world and see Kate Spade shops everywhere, her name, but it wasn't hers. And that can be very difficult. And I've interviewed people, Dave Anderson, who founded Famous Dave's Barbecue. He took his company public very early and lost control of it. He's involved with the company. He's a brand ambassador, but it's not his business anymore. And if you ask him about it, he will tell you his biggest regret was taking it public, because I think at the time he thought, this is going to make us scale quickly and it's going to make us big. And, and so had he had a chance to do it differently, I think he would have done it differently, because his name is on that brand. Right. It's Famous Dave's, but it's not his.
At EntreLeadership, we really believe in, business should be a calling. It's something that you do with your life. If your end game is to exit or to sell, well, then what? You're just going to hang out on a yacht the rest of your life? With who? Who are you? You're going to be lonely as hell. Like, you gotta have something to live for, that you go, this is why I was put on this planet. We see that oftentimes, like you're saying, somebody sells, or they bring on, they go public, and they start to go, I no longer have control on this thing that I'm supposed to be doing with my life. And they lose their identity in that. You had this conversation with Kate Spade, and we all know the tragic story, and it's really sad. But if she could come back and talk to these founders today, looking at the whole story arc of her life, what do you think she would say as that caution to say, hey, keep this as your true north?
Well, I think it's what you say, right? What you said, which is for most founders, I think, and for most people who start businesses, it becomes who you are. It's your identity. It's what gives you purpose in life, what gets you out of bed. You go to an office, you've got colleagues, there's camaraderie, there's a shared purpose, there's a feeling of solidarity. And when you give it up, when you sell it, or in some cases you lose it, you lose your identity, and that's the reality. Most people, not just entrepreneurs, most people watching this, I think we all think in our minds, oh, it'd be wonderful to just lie on a pool lounger and have a frozen daiquiri for the rest of my life. But actually, that actually leads to depression, misery, and a whole host of other things. There's I think it's Marcus Aurelius who talked about how in life we need to experience strain and challenge and adversity every day in some way. Now, I'm sure that a lot of people watching, and you probably have this too, Daniel, I exercise every day. Okay. Now, I hate it. Okay. I absolutely hate it. It's strenuous. It's an hour of my day. It's really hard. I don't look forward to it, but I do it because it's the hardest thing, hopefully, that I will do that day. And I will do that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It's a never ending process. It's not like one day I wake up and I say, okay, I'm healthy. I can now go lie on a pool lounger and have a margarita. I'm going to, over time, my body and my mind will degrade.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that's why a lot of entrepreneurs, even who are billionaires or multimillionaires, they'll work until they're dead because it's their identity. Yes. It's who they are.
Well, I think it's a great metaphor. I have found similar feelings. There's times I'm like, oh, I just don't want to work out today. I'm not feeling it. But I've gone through the cycle enough where I didn't work out for a season and I felt terrible and I felt depressed and I just couldn't get motivated with anything in life. And so it's kind of one of those things that I hate how I feel when I don't do it more than the little bit of discomfort that I have if I'll just do it every day. And I think it's similar in business. Of course, there's times you're shoveling crap. Of course, there's times you're going, I want out of this. I'm dealing with this employee issue or whatever, a legal issue. But the idea of not doing it, you said it earlier, so what's my purpose? And a person without a purpose is lost and depressed. And that's a sad state. We both have seen that.